Besides cutting down on the number of cars on the roads, how else can we combat climate change? Well, it can also start at home. Here with me to explain geothermal home energy systems is entrepreneur Dave Hatherton. Dave, welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Now, you're pretty well down the road in terms of making this as a viable industry.
Yeah, I've been at it 24 years.
24 years, okay.
In this business itself.
Yeah.
And
now, most people don't have a clue, I don't think.
No.
No, okay.
No, they don't. They don't have a clue. There's probably about 500,000 of these things installed throughout North America.
Okay.
Nicely just running in people's homes and military bases and Cheney's mansion and George's ranch.
Okay.
Which is kind of strange for an oil guy, but yeah, what it does is basically we put a bunch of pipe in the ground and we extract the heat from the earth to heat and cool. We actually heat with the system and also cool with the system and provide hot water. And we do it for every unit of electricity you use, you get 4.5 units of heat. So you get 3.5 from your property. So on the climate change side of it, to jump right through there, because it's all this, I've been watching all the car things. NRCan came out with a document that basically went through the calculations of what geothermal systems do on the grid in different areas of Canada.
Okay.
And as far as climate change reduction. And in Ontario, if you retrofitted from a gas furnace, it's equivalent to taking 4.5 cars off the road for emissions.
Ooh. Per home?
Per home.
Yeah.
You know, that's like a 1,600 to 1,800 square foot home.
Yeah, yeah.
Just because of the energy mix in Ontario. That's the way it is.
So we're talking about drawing heat out of the ground.
Yeah, what we do is it's a big fridge. It's a big refrigerator. If you take this glass of water and it's warm and you stick it in your refrigerator, what the refrigerator does is it takes heat out of it and kicks it into your room, like the back of your fridge is hot.
Okay.
So what we're doing here is we take a bunch of pipe, you can picture it like this, we put it in the ground, we fill it with ethanol, booze and water to give us an antifreeze, and we had set up a heat exchange with the ground. And what happens is we flow it through this heat pump system, like a big refrigerator, and it sucks the heat out of that. And when in a refrigerator, when you do that, it changes the refrigerant to a vapor, and they compress it, it flashes to a gas, it gets hot. It gets 200 degrees hot. Okay. So what it does is releases its energy. So for every unit of energy it takes to do that, you get 4.5 units of heat.
Okay.
In cooling, since the ground's cool, it's much easier to cool. So you use about half the energy for cooling.
Okay.
And at the same time, you're taking the heat out of the house. We don't just throw it away. We put it in the hot water tank.
Aha.
So
okay.
It's real simple stuff, you know.
Is there a sort of minimum size yard you need, or?
Not really. You know, we do mostly rural residential because we've got lots of land area and we can put it in horizontally. There's kind of a picture here. I don't know how you do that, but
just hold it up.
There's a picture here of a ground loop system, and what this is doing is just showing a schematic of piping that's put in trenches in the ground. You can also put them in vertically, straight down.
Oh, yeah.
Now that's more expensive
because you have to drill
until you get the volume up. Once the volume of installations goes up, and we actually see these go the other way and the verticals take over. Once that happens. So you can basically put it on in a driveway.
In a driveway, an ordinary yard. So what would we be looking at in terms of the cost?
You're talking anywhere between 10 and 20,000 bucks.
Okay, so that's cheaper than a car.
Well, really what it comes down to is the way we've done energy. The way we've done energy in the country is we amortize all these infrastructure over 20, 30, 40 years, right?
Yep.
You know, gas infrastructure, and George wants to give them another $20 billion in tax breaks.
Yep.
Which makes it hard to compete with them. It doesn't make a very level playing field for us.
But it's no different here in Canada.
No, same game.
Yeah.
But if we can finance these things, this earth loop, over the same time frame, these things cost about 1/6 per unit of energy than it does for a combined cycle turbine gas unit to deliver energy. And what the funny part of these things is once you put that pipe in the ground, the energy itself is free.
Right.
Once you put that pipe in there. See, if you put a gas pipe to Alberta,
yeah,
well, you pay for the gas pipe, and then you got to pay for the gas.
Yeah, yeah, and the pipe leaks.
Yeah, and when you put this stuff in, it's there. It's polyethylene, high-density polyethylene pipe, and
so that's a long life expectancy?
55 years. We guarantee it for 55 years.
Okay. So what would that do now? As everybody here in Ontario knows, our cost of electricity is about to start climbing steadily.
Yep.
What would this do in terms of your...
Well, with the latest increase, they're going to 5.5 cents from 4.3 cents.
If you're over a certain amount of...
Yeah, that would probably increase your bill, your heating, cooling, and hot water bill, probably 60 bucks, 50, 60 bucks a year.
Okay.
Because it's a fairly small component of the whole thing. You got distribution charges, and you got debt reduction charges, and you got all this other stuff, you know.
Yeah.
So,
but with, I mean, if you had this system in place,
it would increase your bill proportional to the kilowatt-hour increase.
It will increase or decrease?
It would increase. Well, if you had electric heat, it would decrease it by 3/4.
Okay, that's what I'm trying to get at.
That's what it would do.
Yeah. So
it operates for about half the price of gas.
Right.
Okay, so if you pay $1,500 a year for gas, it's going to cost you $700 to run this.
Okay. And if any other form of electric, so I'm getting at is this is cheaper way of going.
Yes.
Yeah. Once you're
one thing we're doing right now is we're putting up a building for our business, and we're going to build a super energy efficient building, obviously. But what we've done is there's a fellow called Glenn Estel from the Canadian Wind Energy Association.
Yes.
Glenn's a bright fellow. He built a big wind turbine up there in the Bruce.
Yeah.
We're buying green tags for our building.
Yes.
So really, we're going to have a zero-emission commercial building. And we're going to make it as energy efficient as possible, put it in our geothermal system, and put in in-floor heating and in-floor cooling and heat recovery and all the other stuff. And basically, we'll have a zero-emission building. But the trick here that got Glenn kind of interested is that the earth loop then kind of creates this bridge at that COP of 4.5.
The COP being
coefficient of performance. For every unit of electricity you use, you get 4.5. Well, now that wind turbine to deliver heating and cooling and hot water just got 3.5 times bigger. Right?
Yeah.
So they say, well, wind's expensive. Well, if not, when you marry it with this. So now you could actually end up with lowest operating cost.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
And now why it has to be cheapest, I don't know. It should be the same price or maybe more.
Yeah.
But
well,
actually, this could end up funding wind.
Yeah. Another thing I was going to say is also you could have net metering, in which case then you could turn around and be being paid to feed into the grid.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, that's in some areas where something like Quebec, there's about 500,000 electric resistance homes in Quebec.
Okay.
All hydropower. If you put these in every house, they'd get 5,000 megawatts back.
Right. Well, no,
and it would cost less.
Yeah. So this is Canada. The federal government should be subsidizing this, but instead they're subsidizing the oil industry.
Well, they don't do anything for new housing. They do something for retrofits, but they're not clear what it is.
Yeah.
They basically want to give us what they give the gas guy. So if a guy takes a gas furnace and goes from 60 to 80%, they want to give him the same thing as we get, taking it from 60 to 400%.
So there's some political work to be done here yet.
Well, we're working on it.
Yeah.
But they dance well.
Well, there was an all-party committee report on alternative energies a little while ago that came out, and was this included?
Oh yeah, there was a
tiny
line
bit.
there.
That was all. Yeah.
I don't know if they really like stuff that works real.
Maybe they don't, because then there's no.
The thing that happens here is really you have an on-demand at point of use, right? Renewable.
Yeah.
That's free.
And you're moving in the direction of possibly getting off the grid.
That's right.
You know,
that's when I can pack it in.
Yeah.
Once that's done, once part of the thing is getting off the grid, but you can get off the grid through using wind.
Yeah.
Through the grid.
Yeah. Well, you're out the countryside though.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean,
no, you can do it anywhere.
Okay.
It's still watts in the grid.
Yeah.
You're buying those watts.
So in the suburbs, we could get away with that.
Yeah.
Because I got about 1/3 of an acre.
Yep.
That's ample room for.
Oh, lots of room.
Yeah.
Tons.
And you're talking about marrying it with wind. I like that. There must be rules regarding the height of wind turbines in the city, that kind of thing?
Well, yeah, but I'm talking about using it from wind farms.
Oh, I see.
In the grid.
Okay.
So we're buying green tags we're buying green options from the grid of wind that's being dumped into it.
Okay.
And we can afford to do it if we're running this high efficiency. Because even buying wind power at a higher price, we're still going to operate less per square foot than we would otherwise.
Fantastic. Dave, thank you so much.
Okay.
Good luck with the whole enterprise. One of these days, I hope I'll be off the grid, too.
There you go.
Okay, time for a short break here on Hunters Gatherings. When we return, what you can do about your electricity bill.